Your electricity bill went up again this month. You felt it. You tightened something, turned something off, convinced yourself you'd be more careful. And the bill went up anyway. Here's what nobody is telling you about why. The average American household paid $144 a month for electricity in 2024, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. That's not the shocking part. The shocking part is that electricity rates in this country have climbed 47% since 2020 alone. 47% in 5 years. Your grocery bill doubled, your rent went up, and now the one utility you thought you understood is bleeding you faster than any of them. But here's what will make you genuinely angry. The U.S. Department of Energy has known for over 2 decades that the average American home is silently throwing away between 5 and 10% of every single dollar on the electricity bill every month. Without using a single device, without a single light on, the money disappears while you sleep, while you're at work, while you're on vacation with everything turned off. It isn't a leak. It isn't a malfunction. It is by design. And the solution costs exactly $1. Not a solar panel, not a smart thermostat, not a $400 energy audit from a contractor who will quote you $8,000 in upgrades. $1. Available at every hardware store in America right now. And a $300 billion electronics industry has spent the last 30 years making absolutely sure you never connected the problem to the price tag sitting on that shelf. Today, we are pulling the physics apart layer by layer. We're going to show you exactly where your money is going, exactly why the industry that profits from it will never volunteer the fix, and exactly what you do starting tonight. No theory, no speculation. Verified federal data and peer-reviewed lab science only. Section 1. The real reason your bill never goes down. Here's what most people believe about their electricity bill. The more you use, the more you pay. Turn things off, pay less. That logic is clean. It is also wrong, and the gap between that belief and physical reality is costing the average American $180 to $200 every single year before they touch a single switch. The U.S. Department of Energy published a figure that should have been front-page news. In the average American home, 75% of the electricity used to power home electronics is consumed while those products are turned off. Read that again, 75%, while turned off. Call this the standby trap. Every device in your home that shows a clock, a glowing dot, a standby light, or responds instantly to a remote control is running a hidden engine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Your television, your cable box, your gaming console, your microwave with its blinking colon, your laptop charger sitting on the floor, your printer in the corner you haven't printed from in 3 weeks. Every single one of them is drawing current right now, whether you know it or not. This isn't a small rounding error on your bill. According to data from Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, standby power accounts for more than 100 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity consumption across the United States annually. That is the output of dozens of full-size power plants running continuously, generating electricity that powers nothing, heats nothing, lights nothing, and serves no one except the company that sold you a device designed to never fully stop drawing current. Quiz 1. Before we go further, here's a question worth locking in. How many devices in a typical American home are drawing standby power right now, even while their owners believe they're completely off? Is it A, 5 devices, B, 15 devices, C, 25 devices, or D, 40 devices? Drop your answer below and we'll come back to this. Section 2. The vampire circuit and why off is a lie. Every device in standby mode contains what engineers call a parasitic circuit, a small loop of components that stays permanently powered regardless of the switch position. It exists for one purpose: to listen, to wait for a signal from your remote, to maintain an internal clock, to hold a software state that lets the device appear to turn on instantly. Manufacturers call this a feature. The Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory calls it leaking electricity. Here is the physics of why it never stops. When you press power on your remote, you are not switching the device off. You are switching it into a different operating mode, one that still requires voltage across multiple internal components. The transformer inside that device remains live. The microcontroller running the standby firmware remains live. The infrared sensor watching for your remote signal remains live. The entire system is still running. It has simply dimmed itself to a level low enough that you stop noticing the electricity meter spinning. Now scale that across a single home. The Natural Resources Defense Council surveyed average American households and found cable boxes alone average 16 watts of standby draw. A cable box running at 16 watts for 20 idle hours a day consumes 116 kilowatt hours a year. At the current national average rate of 17 cents per kilowatt hour published by the EIA, that single cable box costs you roughly $20 a year while it does absolutely nothing. A television adds another $15 annually in pure standby cost. A gaming console in rest mode adds more. A router, a sound system, a smart speaker always listening, a microwave blinking midnight since the last power flicker. Now add them up for the entire country. The total phantom load cost to American consumers, according to research published by Berkeley Lab and corroborated by energy efficiency analysts, runs between $10 billion and $41 billion annually, depending on methodology. For perspective, the entire U.S. nuclear power industry generates roughly $30 billion in annual revenue. Americans are silently paying a sum comparable to the entire nuclear industry's revenue every single year for electricity that does not power a single useful function. And the electronics manufacturers, the cable providers, the appliance companies whose entire business model depends on instant-on convenience. None of them have a financial reason to fix it, because the consumer pays the electricity bill, not them. Section 3. The Berkeley Lab Proof and the Number That Scared an Industry. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, physicist Alan Meyer at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory began systematically measuring what he called leaking electricity across American homes. What he found triggered a congressional hearing and a quiet industry scramble that most consumers never heard about. Meyer's team documented that standby power had grown from representing roughly 1% of a home's electricity bill in the 1970s to somewhere between 5 and 10% by the time consumer electronics exploded in the 1990s. The projections for where it was heading were worse. As smart devices, streaming boxes, always-on assistants, and Internet of Things gadgets multiplied inside American homes, the number was only going one direction. The specific figure that landed hardest, standby power in U.S. residences alone accounts for approximately 1% of total global carbon dioxide emissions, according to Berkeley Lab's own calculations. 1% of the entire planet's carbon output, from devices sitting in standby mode in American living rooms, kitchens, and bedrooms. What made the industry genuinely uncomfortable was Meyer's secondary finding. His team demonstrated that the switch-mode power supply technologies needed to reduce standby losses by 60 to 80% already existed at the time of the study, not experimental prototypes, not theoretical future tech. Off-the-shelf components that manufacturers could adopt immediately. The redesigns required were straightforward. The cost increase per unit was negligible. They didn't adopt them. Because here's what the standby power industry math actually looks like. A device that draws 15 watts in standby versus a redesigned device that draws 0.5 watts in standby, the consumer pays the electricity bill difference for the lifetime of that product. The manufacturer pays nothing. And the manufacturer that builds the faster-appearing, more instantly responsive device wins the showroom floor comparison against the competitor who optimized for energy efficiency. Speed of response is visible to a consumer in the store. Standby power draw is invisible until the monthly bill arrives, and by then no one connects the charges to the device sitting 3 feet from them on the entertainment unit. Quiz 2. Here's your second question before we get to the fix. According to Berkeley Lab data, standby power in U.S. homes consumes how many kilowatt hours of electricity annually? Is it A, 10 billion kilowatt hour, B, 50 billion kilowatt hour, C, 100 billion kilowatt hour, or D, 250 billion kilowatt hour? Lock your answer below. Section 4. The multiplication problem and why one device is never the whole story. Here's the layer that most people addressing phantom load completely miss. And it's the reason that unplugging just a television and calling it solved still leaves most of the money on the table. The standby trap is not a single device problem. It is a multiplication problem, and the multiplication compounds in a direction most energy audits never measure. The DOE categorizes home electricity consumption into buckets: Heating and cooling, 52% of total home energy use. Water heating, around 18%. Appliances, lighting, and electronics, the remaining 30%. Most energy-saving advice targets that 30% bucket because it's visible. You can swap a light bulb. You can see a TV. But here's what the distribution hides. Within that electronics and appliances bucket, standby power isn't distributed evenly across a few big devices. It is distributed across every single device in your home simultaneously, running every single hour of every single day. The average American home contains more than 40 devices drawing standby power at any given moment, according to industry surveys. 40 devices, each drawing between 1 and 20 watts continuously. At an average of 5 watts per device across 40 devices, that is 200 watts running 24 hours a day. At the national average electricity rate, that is $262 a year in pure standby cost before you turn on a single light or run a single appliance. The real number in homes heavy with gaming consoles, smart TVs, multiple cable boxes, and smart home hubs runs higher. And if your electricity costs went up 47% since 2020, that $262 is now costing you $385 for the exact same zero output drain. This is the multiplication problem. The device count multiplies the wattage, which multiplies with the hours, which multiplies with the rate increases the utility keeps improving. And none of those multipliers require you to do anything new. They run automatically, invisibly, while your power bill climbs, and every energy-saving tip in every article tells you to remember to turn off the lights when you leave a room. Section 5. The $1 fix, and exactly what you do starting tonight. One 6-outlet power strip with a single master on-off switch costs between $6 and $10 at any hardware store in America right now. That is approximately $1 per outlet. A switched outlet that goes to true zero power draw the moment you flip it. Not standby, not sleep mode. Zero. That is the solution the Department of Energy has documented. The solution Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory has validated, and the solution that requires no subscription, no app, no smart home hub, no installation appointment, and no understanding of electrical engineering to implement. Here is exactly how it works starting tonight. Walk through your home and identify your 3 highest draw standby clusters. The entertainment system first, television, cable or streaming box, gaming console, soundbar. Plug everything in that cluster into a single switch to strip. One flip of the switch when you're done watching kills every standby draw in that cluster simultaneously, dropping that cluster from a continuous 50+ watts to exactly 0. Do the same for your home office cluster, desktop, monitor, printer, external hard drive, modem if it doesn't run your security system. Third cluster, the kitchen counter electronics. Coffee maker, toaster oven, microwave if the clock genuinely doesn't matter to you overnight. The entertainment cluster alone, eliminated from standby 8 hours every night, saves roughly $40 to $60 a year depending on your hardware mix and local electricity rate. 3 clusters eliminated saves between $80 and $150 annually for most households. According to calculations derived from DOE standby wattage data at current national electricity rates. Total material investment, $18 to $30 for 3 strips. Annual savings, $80 to $150, minimum. Payback period, between 10 and 14 weeks. Then you never pay that cost again. Not next year when rates go up another 6%. Not the year after when your utility files for another rate increase. The phantom load your home was silently billing you disappears, and the physics of that elimination compounds every single year rates rise. If you answered C on that quiz question, 25 devices, you're close. The real number in a modern American home is closer to 40, and at $1 per outlet, you can kill every single one of them for under $30 total. The electronics industry's business model depends on you never doing the multiplication. The utility benefits every time rates rise and your base load stays the same. The DOE published the research. The Berkeley lab quantified the waste. The power strip has been on the shelf the entire time. The most expensive electricity in America has always been the kind you pay for without using a single watt. Now you know exactly how to stop paying it. You now understand why passive load elimination outperforms efficiency upgrades at the most fundamental level of physics and household economics. But there is a deeper energy trap that most homeowners never calculate until the bill arrives in winter. What happens when heating season hits and the same standby multiplication combines with the single biggest energy waste built into every American home since 1950? The physics of that winter version of everything you just learned, and the $3 fix the insulation industry has quietly kept off every government efficiency checklist, is exactly what the next video covers. In the meantime, start with the 3-cluster audit tonight. The meter is already running.